Alright, this is the gun, and I'm going to make this really quite spectacular. I have two of them. I've got three of them for the boat, but I've only got one left because the other two are on the bottom of the pond. So rather than making two new ones, I'm going to make three new ones, and these are going to be a little bit different. The way they're going to be is, if I can draw them like that, what I've noticed about the guns, yeah, that's coming up all right. What I want to do, let me put this first in place, is I want to get the two guns out like that, going through, and I want to be able to turn them with a servo up and down. And secondly, underneath the whole thing, I want to turn them with a servo 180 degrees. So it's going to look pretty effective. I'll use Arduino to do that, and I might be able to get both the turrets all turning differently. Right now, it doesn't matter. All I need to do is try and work out how to get this working, and I've ordered some really cheap servos, $30 for 10 of them, and I'm going to drive each of those with a couple of servos. I'm not entirely sure how it's all going to work yet, so I'm going to take this step by step, and we're going to work it out. So we're going to do that. The other thing I've noticed about these guns is that they have these wonderful little openings there, and there's a lot of rivet work that goes on all around them, and I'm going to put all the rivets in, put all of the panels in individually, and so on. They're going to look really spectacular in the finish, which is important because, like the portholes, the guns are going to be noticeable in this boat. And if I can get them all turning together and going up and down, how good will that be? Anyway. Alright, you can see here my base, and I've made the gap of 20 millimeters in between where the gun is going to go and pivot. That hole is what the whole gun is going to turn around. And here, this is all 2mm perspex. I'm going to cut the pieces in order to make the base of the gun. So it's going to go like this. It's going to stick onto here. But what I've noticed, I'm going to put the square piece in place first. What I've noticed to begin with is that the whole thing sits back at an angle. So I'm going to grind the angle in on all 6 pieces together to get that same. And then this goes down, so we're going to cut that in then. And maybe I might have to put a groove on the sides so that it will curl around, but once that's so that the flashing, because I'll use aluminium flashing to complete this, it's going to look really good. Once I've done that, I'll tizzy up both of them to the point where I can then put the hole right through, and then I'm going to glue these on using acrylic glue, which will stick that on really hard. I might have to tack it up nicely, but once I've done that, I'll move on to the gun. Okay, so I've been working on this and getting these dimensions right. I've got to get the horizontal height of the guns perfect, and also the central fulcrum point, and I've drilled a hole in here and I have not got it right. So I'm going to drill a smaller hole next to it, and the center hole is going to be really quite thin because I've stuffed that up. But that doesn't matter because it's going to have a base under it, which is going to be in total 3mm thick and round. So I think right now it's all looking pretty good. If this one's a bit long, they're going to have to come down to be that length. And the guns look fantastic. I've just got to add the extra layers to them. So I've marked on here where the fulcrum is going to be for each of the guns. I actually put a mark on here and then ground it and then had another go just to make sure that they're all the same. And I've ground that in there so that it's going to be easier to put the drill through that, the very fine center drill through there, so then I can follow it up with a piece of wire. So I've done them all the same, and this is some stainless wire which is quite thin, but by the time I've threaded them through, put them in a nice little jig and then silver soldered them in, these are not going to move, they're going to be fine. The other thing that I've done has been to mark each of these with the fulcrum of this which is going to run across. There's 10 mil, or it would be 25 mil, I think it'll be required to go across both of those, and I have to think of a way of holding these in so that it slides in one side and then I can lock the other side in. And then under here now I've recentered these based on the fulcrum because that wasn't right, and as I said to you, I probably put the same width drill into it as I've got for that, because it just has to fit into a base underneath. Okay, getting there. I like this stuff. It's really, really fun. So that will run through here. Oops. Very, very nice. And I've also done this one. That's lovely. The fun of these things is thinking up ways of doing some very technical work with a minimum of hassle. Next step, let's slide the gun in place. This one slides into there. Now just going to put a bit of hot glue on the tip. That's now holding in place, so we'll add some acrylic glue. And that does the trick. This is how I'm making these little extra pieces that go on the guns, make all the difference. Honestly, this is the only material I've got, so I'm turning it down. There's a lot of waste, but I've discovered that the only way of doing this is to begin with a drill, which will take the gun barrel that I've made so far, and then just turn this down until it's that size, and the last part of just feathering this out is done with a file, and that seems to work quite well. I've got to do another 4 of these, so see ya. Repeating with a tuber, but that should be okay. This is really a terrifically fun part of something like this. We just need this little angle on here. As you can see, it's all about preparation. Okay, so now here is my... I'm just going to put this in here because it gives me the same width of space that is required. Now let's just test this. Oh look, that's great. These little edges here have really become a bit of they moved actually when I put them in, but fortunately it really doesn't matter that much. I want the centerpiece to be here, and I think that's the way it should be. I line this up with the, whoops, can I line that up with the back, with the stone. Anyway, I'm going to do this now, show you just how scratch building is all about finding ways of doing things. And that looks about right. I love hot glue. There we go. Back that up like that and you find out what's working, and now that's got to be pulled up a little bit. Not at all bad. Okay, we've got one side on. This first piece lips down longer and all the rest is going to stick to the same height as that. It's going to look really very, very nice. Once again, this glue is perfect for this. Just tacking things into place. And I've made a mistake. Good. Problem solved. Put it on the wrong way around. I want the little rivets to stick out, not stick in. Don't you love super glue? Now we just... So I'm going to, I won't finish this whole thing in super glue by any means. Got these little strings everywhere. But we certainly will be putting something on the inside of this to strengthen it. But so far, it's looking very nice indeed.